came to America when he was just a boy. He made his first move to join the elite group of American tycoons when he quit his job as a farm boy at a cotton mill during summer 20th and got a job as a telegraph messenger. He soon taught himself to operate the telegraph key, which got him hired as personal telegrapher and secretary to the head of the Pennsylvania Railroad. It wasn't long before he worked his way up to which in turn put him in a position to become an early investor in the Pullman Company, which became the leading manufacturer of railroad tracks. Carnegie's investment in Pullman and some successful real estate ventures gave him the capital to go into business for himself. At the end of the Civil War, Carnegie left railroad and started a company that built iron bridges for railroad companies. From building iron bridges, it was a short step to starting his own steel mill, which led him to acquire control of other steel mills, then his own coal field to supply smelters, then his own ore boats and rail lines to haul the ore and coal. Because of Carnegie's vertical integration and his use of the most up-to-date manufacturing methods, he was able to sell top-grade steel at the lowest price. He managed to drop the price of steel from $140 a ton to $20 a ton. By 1899, the Carnegie Steel Company controlled about 25% of the iron and steel production in America. The smaller steel manufacturers couldn't compete with Carnegie, so they went to J.P. Morgan for help. He arranged for the financing, and a wide-ranging alliance was put together of companies that products made from steel. One of the deal was that they would not buy steel from Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was not about to be put out of business by a collection of small companies. He announced that he would buy or build his own manufacturing companies to produce finished goods made of steel. This is the end of the editor's comments. And the New York World Telegram saw the Steel Castle he had viewed first with amusement and then with resentment the attempts of Morgan's smaller companies to cut into business. When the attempts became too bold, Carnegie's temper was translated into anger and retaliation. He decided to put to date every mill owned by his rivals. Hitherto, he had significantly required to fight for push. Instead, he determined to sell such companies raw steel and let them work against whatever shape they wanted. Now, with Schwab as his chief and able lieutenant, he might drive his enemies to the wall. So it was that in the speech of Charles M. Schwab, Morgan saw the answer to his problem of combination. A trust without Carnegie. Millions of all, there will be no trust at all. A plum pudding, as one might have said, without the plums. Schwab's speech on the night of December 12, 1900, undoubtedly carried the influence, though not the pledge, that a vast Carnegie enterprise would be brought under the Morgan system. He talked of the world future for steel, of the organization for its use, of specialization, of the scrapping of unsuccessful mills and concentration of economic flourishing processes, of economies in the ore traffic, of economies in overhead and administrative departments, of capturing foreign markets. More than that, he told the buccaneers among them wherein lay the errors of their customary piracy. Their purposes, he inferred, had been to create monopolies and made themselves cash. There was a golf game in January on the frost-cracking heath of the St. Andrews Links in Westchester, with Andrew bundled up in sweaters against the cold and Charlie talking volubly as usual to keep his spirits up. But no word of business was mentioned until the pair sat down in the cozy warmth of the Carnegie Cottage nearby. Then, with the same persuasiveness that had hypnotized 80 millionaires at the University Club, Schwab poured out the glittering promises of retirement and comfort. Millions to satisfy the old man's social caprices. Carnegie capitulated, wrote a figure on a slip of paper, handed it to Schwab and said, "All right, that's what we'll sell for." The figure was approximately $400 million, and was reached by taking the $320 million mentioned by Schwab as a basic figure, and adding to it $80 million to represent the increased capital value of the previous 2 years. On the deck of the transatlantic liner, the Scotsman said ruefully to Morgan, "I wish I had asked you for $100 million more. If you had asked for it, you'd have gotten it," Morgan told him cheerfully. There was an uproar, of course. The British correspondent cabled that the foreign steel world was appalled by the gigantic President Hadley of Yale declared that unless trusts were regulated, the country might expect an emperor in Washington within the next 25 years. But that naval stock manipulator Key went at his work of shoving the new stock at the public so vigorously that all the excess bought, estimated by some at nearly $600 million. The Carnegie had his millions, and the Morgan syndicate had $62 million for all its trouble. And all the boys, from Gates to Gary, had their millions. Editors comment. The 38-year-old Charles M. Schwab had his reward too. He was made president of the new corporation, United States Steel, and remained in control until 1930. When Schwab left U.S. Steel, he went on to found the mammoth Bethlehem Steel Corporation, of which he also became president. This is the end of the editor's comment. Riches begin with thought. The dramatic story of big business that you just finished is a perfect illustration of the method by which desire can be transmuted into its physical equivalent. That giant organization was created in the mind of one man. The plan by which the organization was provided with the steel to give it financial stability was created in the mind of the same man. His faith, his desire, his imagination, his persistence were the real ingredients that went into United States Steel. Steel was so much acquired by the corporation and brought it into existence.
God damn it, dude.
well mixed with emotion.
I can't fucking make this.
Serious consideration to a method that was being used in theaters and nightclubs to make members of the audience do ridiculous things for comic effect. Autosuggestion encountered a similar problem. French psychiatrist Émile Coué was the best-known early advocate of autosuggestion. A contemporary of Sigmund Freud, Coué operated a clinic that treated patients diagnosed with psychosomatic ailments. Individuals who have convinced themselves they are ill and even show symptoms do not actually have disease. Coué devised a general, non-specific phrase that would give the subconscious a positive instruction, but was open enough that it did not tell the subconscious how to do it. The positive affirmation was, every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. And he instructed his patients to repeat the phrase several times a day. Improvements among his patients happened so quickly and dramatically that his method became the talk of medical and scientific circles, and the use of the phrase practically became a movement in Europe. Word of the success Coué was having with his method spread to America, and he was soon booked to do a lecture tour. At one of his early speaking engagements, a cynical newspaper reporter made a joke of the technique, calling it, "Hell's bells, I'm well." The joke followed Coué wherever he spoke, and the press coverage was so negative he canceled the tour and returned to practice here. Serious scientists and therapists continued to use the autosuggestion. But just as it happened when stage magicians passed out on the hypnosis, Coué's method of positive affirmation fell out of favor with the general public. It took the openness of the latter part of the 20th century before the technique of hypnosis and autosuggestion gained general acceptance once again. Again, 40,000 women virtually every newspaper regular feature stories of the mutual more autosuggestion and autosuggestion. Jose Silva's best-selling book, The Silva Mode. Bestseller, Creative Visualization, and Adelaide Pride published Visualization. At the same time, Carlos carries with it the seed of an equivalent or a greater benefit. Chapter 6. Specialized knowledge. Personal experiences or observations. The fourth step toward riches. There are two kinds of knowledge. One is general, the other is specialized. General knowledge, no matter how great or variety it may be, is of little use in the accumulation of money. The faculties of the great universities possess practically every form of general knowledge known to civilization. Most of the professors have little money. They specialize in teaching knowledge, but they do not specialize in the organization or the use of knowledge. Knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and directed through practical plans for the specific purpose of accumulating money. Lack of understanding of this fact has been the source of confusion to millions of people who falsely believe that knowledge is power. It is nothing of the sort. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when and if it is organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end. The missing link in all systems of education is that educational institutions fail to teach their students how to organize and use the knowledge after they've acquired it. Many people make the mistake of assuming that because 10 people were education, those who made this mistake did not understand the real meaning of the word educate. That word is derived from the Latin word educo, meaning to deduce, to draw out, or to develop from within. An educated person is not necessarily one who has an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. An educated person is one who has so developed the faculties of their mind that he or she may acquire anything they want, or its equivalent, without violating the rights of others. During the World War, a Chicago newspaper published editorials in which, among other statements, Henry Ford was called an ignorant pacifist. Mr. Ford objected to the statements and sued the paper for libeling him. When the suit was tried in the courts, the attorneys for the paper called Mr. Ford to the witness stand for the purpose of proving to the jury that he was ignorant. They asked Mr. Ford a great variety of questions, all of them intended to prove that while he might possess considerable specialized knowledge about manufacturing automobiles, he was in the main ignorant. Mr. Ford was asked such questions as, who was Benedict Arnold? And how many soldiers did the British send over to America to put down the rebellion of 1776? In answer to the last question, Mr. Ford replied, I do not know the exact number of soldiers the British sent over, but I've heard that it was a considerably larger number than ever went back. Finally, Mr. Ford became tired of this line of questioning. In reply to a particularly offensive question, he leaned over, pointed his finger at the lawyer who was asking the question, and said, you should really know the question you just asked. And in the other question you've been asking me, let me remind you that I have a on my desk, and by pushing the right button, I can summon to my aid men and answer any question I desire to ask concerning the business to which I am devoting most of my efforts. Now, will you kindly tell me why I should clutter up my mind with general knowledge for the purpose of being able to answer questions when I have men around me who supply any knowledge for me? That answer for the lawyer. Every person in the courtroom realized it was the answer from the paper. Any person is educated who knows where to get knowledge from and how to organize that knowledge into intellectual. With the assistance of his mastermind group, Henry Ford had at his command all the specialized knowledge he needed to become one of the wealthiest men around. For essential that he have his knowledge in his own. You can get it. Because you can have the desire for money, will require specialized knowledge of the service, merchandise, or profession. Perhaps you may need no more specialized knowledge than you have the ability or the inclination to acquire. If this is true, you may need to be able to create a mastermind. The mastermind is defined as coordination of knowledge spread in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. The larger meaning of the mastermind will explain after reading Hill's definition of a mastermind, many people may assume that he is describing teamwork. Explanation is adapted from the Napoleon Hill Foundation book, Believe and Achieve. Teamwork can be achieved by any group. Each one of the members has a shared interest because all it requires is cooperation. In teamwork, people might simply be confident because they like to lead and allow the substitution. Some team members will give 100% of anything that they want, but they have little concern about the agenda. And sometimes there is no team because different members have different agendas. A board of directors may disagree, even be unfriendly, and still run a business successfully. His opponents are made up of previously closer people. As a team, give it the one to get ahead. Masterminds, on the other hand, are formed of individuals who have the same agenda, a deep-set mission, and commitment to the same goal. Masterminds represent the highest order of thinking they can knowledge of people, contributing their absolute best according to their abilities, expertise, and attitude. We hope that part of the meeting was everything just, and ideas built upon other ideas, with each member contributing in the effective and best possible idea for solution. That is a mastermind. The point of building is you must make the mastermind as a regular part of your life if you really want to succeed. Select the right people for your mastermind will be discussed further in Chapter 11, The Power of the Mastermind. The accumulation of great fortunes calls for power, and power is acquired through highly organized and intelligently directed specialized knowledge. Knowledge does not necessarily have to be of the ability of the person to accumulate. This should give us good encouragement to those who want to accumulate, but don't have the necessary education to supply such specialized knowledge. People sometimes go through life suffering from inferiority complexes because they are not able to education. A person who can organize and possess the knowledge needed is just as much a person of education as any real individual. Thomas A. Edison had only 3 months to complete his invention. He did not like education, neither did he know. Henry Ford had less than a 6th grade school, but he managed to do pretty well by himself in engine. Albert Einstein was working as a clerk in a patent office when he began to develop his first scientific theories. Edward Thomas. Without considering that Ford's better, he might have been diagnosed in his early years as having invention deficit disorder. As a child, he was slow to read the Bible. As a student, he showed little promise and was expelled from at least one school. Einstein to focus his concentration on the goal of his choice. His famous theories were the result of profound experiments. Experiments that took place in his mind as well. It is said that the breakthrough led him to the theory of relativity, gained more specialized knowledge of universal mathematics, but from his ability to imagine what would happen if he were riding a horse in space. This is the end of the industry. Specialized knowledge is among the most valuable professional skills for all the service that may be had. Without this, it's on the table of any university. It pays to know how to work with knowledge, and it pays to know where to go. First of all, decide the sort of specialized knowledge you want, and the purpose for which it is needed. To a large extent, your major purpose in life, the goal for which you are. Your own experience with your obligated myself to do. I should complete the lessons and get my reason. Correspondence schools are organized businesses. At the time, I felt that responsibility was somewhat too organized, but I learned later in life that it was not my education. The truth is that the collection department the very finest sort of training, decision-making, process, and finish once you begin. The collection system that forced me to finish the course turned out to be a good option. Specialized knowledge. One of the strange things about these beings is that they value only that which has a price. The free schools of America and the free public libraries do not price people because they are free. This is the major reason why so many people find it necessary to acquire additional training after they finish school. It is also one of the major reasons why employers give greater consideration to employees who take specialized training courses. We have learned that those who have the ambition to give up a part of their spare time to studying at home have in them those qualities that make for leadership. There is one weakness in people for which there is no remedy, and the universal weakness of lack of ambition. People who give up some of their spare time to take courses seldom remain at the bottom very long. By taking such courses, they open the way for the upward movement, remove many obstacles from their path, and attract the interest of those who have the power to help them. The home study method of training is especially suited to people who have already started working. They often find that after having left school, they still need additional specialized knowledge, but cannot spare the time to go back to school. Stuart Austin Weir was a construction engineer. He followed this line of work until the Depression hit and severely limited the construction business. He took inventory of himself and decided to change his profession to law. He went back to school and took special courses to prepare himself as a corporation lawyer. He completed his training, passed the bar examination, and quickly went through law practice as a patent attorney. Just to keep the record straight and to anticipate the excuses of those who will say, I couldn't go to school because I have a family to support. I'm too old. I will add that Mr. Weir was past 40 and married when he went back to school. Moreover, by carefully selecting highly specialized courses, Mr. Weir completed in 2 years the work that it takes the majority of law students 4 years to do. It pays to know how to purchase knowledge. A simple idea that paid off. Here's another specific example about a salesman in a grocery store who found himself suddenly unemployed. Having had some bookkeeping experience, he took a special course in accounting, familiarized himself with all the latest bookkeeping and office equipment, and went into business for himself. Starting with a grocer from whom he had formerly worked, he made contracts with more than 100 small merchants to keep their books at a very nominal monthly fee. His idea was so practical that he soon found it necessary to set up a portable accounting office in a light delivery truck. He now has a fleet of these bookkeeping offices on wheels. He employs a large staff of assistants who provide small merchants with accounting services equal to the best that money can buy at very nominal cost. Specialized knowledge plus imagination were the ingredients that went into this unique and successful business. Last year, the owner of that business paid income taxes of almost 10 times as much as would pay other users. By the time he was 13, system operating system to IBM. What they would do was license the system to IBM in exchange for royalty on every copy sold to IBM computer. And it would not be in terms of which meant that Microsoft would also license the system to other computer companies. If you were to continue to track them in Microsoft, you'll find those same qualities of burning desire, navigation, specialized knowledge, and imagination behind each of the skills they and continues to do. Just as they were behind the success of the man who started the local accounting business. This is the end of the beginning of the successful local accounting business was an idea. I know this is true because I was one of that idea. I would like to pass on the story to another idea. And it was my accountant friend who directly suggested this one to me. When I first put the accounting idea to him, he said, I like the idea, but I would not know how to turn it into cash. In other words, he did not know how to market his bookkeeping knowledge after he acquired it. So with the aid of a young woman coming, very attractive presentation, there are thousands of people all over the country who need the services of a merchandising specialist capable of preparing an attractive way to market personal services. This idea was born of the necessity to solve a specific problem, but it did not stop by serving merely one person. She saw and reviewed the brainchild, making of it marketing personal services. Spurred to action by the success of her first prepared plan to market personal services, this woman turned to solving a similar problem for her son. He had just finished college, but had been totally unable to find a market for his services. She created for him the best example of merchandising personal services I have ever seen. When the presentation had been completed, it contained nearly 50 pages of beautifully typed, properly organized information. It told the story of her son's natural abilities, schooling, personal experiences, and a great variety of other information. The book also contained a complete description of the position her son desired, together with a marvelous word picture of the exact plan he would use in filling his position. The preparation of the presentation required several weeks of her time, during which she sent her son to the public library almost daily to get specific data needed to sell his services to best advantage. She also sent him to all the competitors of his prospective employer, where he gathered information concerning their business methods. This was of great value in the formation of the plan he intended to use in filling the position he sought. When the plan was finished, it contained more than half a dozen very fine suggestions that would benefit the prospective employer. You don't have to start at the bottom. You may be inclined to ask, why go to all this trouble to secure a job? The answer is, doing a thing well is never trouble. The plan prepared by this woman for her son helped him get the job at the first interview and had a salary fixed by himself. Moreover, and this too is important, the position did not require the young man to start at the bottom. He began as a junior executive at an executive salary. Why go to all this trouble? Well, for one thing, this young man's planned presentation saved him no less than 10 years of working his way up. The idea of starting at the bottom and working your way up may appear to be sound, but the major objection to it is this. Too many of those who begin at the bottom never manage to lift their heads high enough to be seen by those who can. And the outlook from the bottom is not very bright or encouraging. It has a tendency to kill off ambition. You get into a rut, and you accept your fate because you form the habit of daily routine. Often this habit finally becomes so strong, you don't even try to throw it off. And that is another reason why it pays to start one or two steps above the bottom. By so doing, you will form the habit of looking around, of observing how others get ahead, of seeing opportunity, and of embracing it without hesitation. A splendid example for me is Dan Halpin. During his college days, he was manager of the famous 1930 championship Notre Dame football team, when it was under the direction of the late Lou Rodney. Halpin finished college at a very unfavorable time. The Depression had made jobs scarce. So after a fling at investment banking and motion pictures, he took the first job with a potential future he could find. It was selling electrical hearing aids on a commission basis. Anyone could start in that sort of job, and Halpin knew it, but it was enough to open the door of opportunity to him. For almost 2 years, he worked at the job, but it didn't satisfy him. He would never have risen above that job if he had not done something about his dissatisfaction. He aimed first at the job of assistant sales manager of the company, and he got the job. That single step upward placed him high enough above the crowd for him to see still greater opportunity. Also, it placed him where opportunity could see him. In his new position, he did so well selling hearing aids that A.M. Andrews, chairman of the board of the Dictograph Products Company, a competitor of the company for which Halpin worked, asked to meet with him. Mr. Andrews wanted to know something about that man, Dan Halpin, who was taking big sales away from the long-established Dictograph Company. When the interview was over, Halpin was the new sales manager in charge of the Acousticon division of Dictograph. Then, to test young Halpin's mettle, Mr. Andrews went away to Florida for 3 months, leaving him to sink or swim in his new job. He did not sink. Newt Rodney's spirit of all the world loves a winner has no time for a loser inspired him to put so much into his job that he was elected vice president of the company. Vice president was a job that most would be proud to earn in 10 years of life. Halpin turned cricket for more than 6 months. The major point Wright emphasized through this entire philosophy is that we rise to high positions made of other conditions we can control, but on the side we control. I'm also trying to emphasize another point, that both success and failure are largely in themselves matter. I have not the slightest doubt that Dan Halpin's close association with the great which America ever knew planted in his mind the same kind of desire to excel that made the Notre Dame football team famous. There's something to the idea that hero worship is healthy, provided you believe. sell their personal services. Capability, imagination, the one quality needed to find specialized multiple ideas, create organized plans, yield pictures. If you have imagination, this chapter may present you with an idea that gives the widgets you desire. The idea is the main thing. Specialized knowledge may be found just around the corner. Is taken on a negative connotation, implying that something is artificial, a real thing. Today the word synthesized, which is defined as something made up from component parts, would better describe what Hill had in mind, and has been substituted here accordingly. This is the end of the editor's copy. Synthesized imagination. Through this faculty, you arrange old concepts, ideas, or plans into new combinations. Synthesized imagination does not create anything. It merely works with the material of experience, education, and observation, with which it is fed. It is the faculty used by most inventors. Those geniuses create imagination. They cannot solve problems with synthesized imagination. Imagination. Through the faculty of creative imagination, the finite human mind has directly and infinite intelligence. The faculty through which it functions. You find this faculty that all basic or new ideas are handed over to mankind. And in that way, individuals may tune in and communicate with the subconscious mind. This concept is explained in greater detail later. The creative imagination works automatically, but only when your conscious mind is motivated, energized, and working at such a high rate that it becomes very perceptive and receptive. is only a thought. Through synthesized imagination, your experience, education, and observations will give it shape, form, and action. From the moment you follow those instructions and write out your desire and your plan, you will have actually taken the first of a series of steps that will enable you to convert the thought into its physical counterpart. Editor's comments. Synthesized imagination plays a role in every phase of a business plan. In fact, some of the most successful companies actually get started from synthesized imagination. When an entrepreneur, drawing upon his or her education, experience, and observations, gets an idea from one source and gives it a shape. That is exactly what happened with Ruth Handler. She and her husband, along with another partner, had started a small manufacturing company, which had evolved into toy manufacturing. The success of their business depended on coming up with new toy ideas. Watching her young daughter play, Ruth Handler noticed that she was fascinated with cutout books that featured teenage girl or career women paper dolls that she could cut out clothes for. She also knew that little girls love to play dress up in grown-up clothes. These ideas, drawn from Ruth Handler's educational experience and observations, synthesized themselves in her imagination and came together as a new idea. Ruth Handler announced that they should make a lifelike teenage girl doll, not a paper doll, but a real three-dimensional grown-up doll with a woman's figure, and they could also make grown-up clothes to fit, so that girls could play dress up with the doll. In honor of the source of inspiration, Ruth Handler named the new doll after her daughter, Barbie. As obvious as it seems now, until Ruth Handler, no one had the imagination to make and market a doll that looked like a woman, and certainly no one had ever made endless collections of tiny women's fashions for a doll to wear. Previously, we mentioned Jeff Bezos creating Amazon by combining the idea of a bookstore with the internet, and Pierre Omidyar doing the same thing with auctions when he launched eBay. Mary Kay Ash took the idea of women running their own businesses and added the idea of door-to-door sales. Anita Roddick took the trend of all-natural ingredients combined with cosmetics and created the Body Shop network. Mark Lopez and Dr. White took the concept of the supermarket, divided the market. Thomas Lindbergh and Lil Pond did the same thing with office supplies and launched State.
Space, bro. He at the top. I'm pulling up on you, nigga. Disrespect of my name.
Hold the thought, energy, directly into the infinite intelligence, energy, that contains not just your subconscious, energy, but all other subconscious minds, energy, as well. Infinite intelligence is a complex concept, and for those readers who find themselves questioning the process, be assured that he'll expand on the theory in later chapters. The editors advise the reader to set aside any questions and focus on the logical and practical application he'll have in mind. This is the end of the editor's comments. You are engaged in trying to turn your desire into its physical or monetary counterpart, and there are laws of physics and principles of psychology that can help you. But first, you must give yourself time to become familiar with these laws and learn to use them. Through repetition discussion, and by describing these principles from every conceivable angle, I hope to reveal to you the secret through which every great fortune has been accumulated. Strange and paradoxical as it may seem, the secret is no secret. It is made obvious in the earth, the stars, the planets, in the elements above and around us, in every blade of grass, and every form of life within our vision. Do not be discouraged if you do not fully understand what I said this time. Later, when you reread and study it, you will discover that something has happened to clarify it and give you a broader understanding of the whole. Above all, do not stop nor hesitate in your study of these principles until you have read the book at least 3 times. Then, you will not want to stop. How to make practical use of imagination. Ideas are the beginning points of all fortunes. Ideas are products of the imagination. Following are 2 true stories about ideas that have yielded huge fortunes. I hope that these stories will convey how important the role imagination can play in turning an idea into success, and that they will illustrate the method by which imagination is used in accumulating riches. The Enchanted Kettle. In the late 1880s, an old country doctor drove to town, hitched his horse, quietly slipped into a drugstore by the back door, and began dickering with a young drug clerk. For more than an hour behind the prescription counter, the old doctor and the clerk talked in low tones. Then the doctor left. He went out to the buggy and brought back a large old-fashioned kettle, a big wooden paddle used for stirring the contents of the kettle, and deposited them in the back of the store. The clerk inspected the kettle, reached into his inside pocket, took out a roll of bills, and handed it over to the doctor. The roll contained exactly $500, the clerk's entire savings. The doctor handed over a small slip of paper on which was written a secret formula. The words on that small slip of paper were worth a king's ransom, but not to the doctor. Those magic words were needed to start the kettle. managed to sell 12 franchises. 2 years later, he'd sold 200. 4 years later, he was up to 600 locations when he was approached by an investment group to sell his company. Recognizing that the magic wasn't just in the kettle, the recipe, the new owners asked Colonel Sanders to stay on as spokesman for the company, which he did until his death in 1980. Today, there are almost 12,000 KFC locations in more than 80 countries with sales of nearly $10 billion a year. Debbie Fields was a 20-year-old housewife who loved to bake cookies. She had no formal education and no business experience, but she had a recipe and an imaginative idea that people would like to buy fresh, hot, soft cookies from a walk-up store. The business people and bankers she approached told her she was crazy, but she and her husband continued to pitch her idea to banker after banker until they finally wore one down enough to give Debbie Fields a loan to open a store in Palo Alto, California. By noon on her first day, she still hadn't sold a cookie, so she went out into the street and gave away samples. Her walk-in try a sample cookie store took off. Today, Mrs. Fields stores are all across America. Harvard Business School uses her methods as a case study in efficiency, and Debbie Fields has become a best-selling author, an in-demand motivational speaker, and a television personality. Only famous Amos was a Los Angeles talent agent who copied a cookie recipe on his version of homemade cookies as a sort of calling card. His clients and business associates liked him so much that Wally finally decided to quit show business and open a store. He did it for Hollywood Agents Flair. He opened on Sunset Boulevard with 2,000 invitations, a red carpet, and celebrities. With the same flair, he put his picture on the bag, filled the bags with cookies, and started selling them to exclusive department stores and specialty shops. 10 years later, famous Amos cookies were a $10 million business. Ray Kroc was over 50 and selling milkshake mixers when he heard about a hamburger stand in Illinois, owned by Dick and Matt McDonald, that was doing great business. He packed his car and headed to San Bernardino to check it out. What he saw was a sit-down restaurant that had a limited menu featuring a good hamburger recipe, and they were serving them faster than any place he'd ever seen. Figuring that if there were more places like this, he could sell them a lot of milkshake mixers. Kroc pitched the McDonald brothers on the idea of opening some more McDonald's. They were interested, but they didn't know who he could get to open these restaurants. This time, it was a recipe and a magic grill, but it still needed an extra ingredient: imagination. On the spot, Ray Kroc offered to go into business with them and open the restaurants in December. According to the signs on the golden arches, Ray Kroc's imagination paid off.
Ahora que queda cabrón. Una media. Entonces, tienen los camas, siempre tienen los camas, me dicen, me empuja todavía ya cuando estoy aquí, no que es de los camas. ¿Qué más porque estoy jugando aquí? Ahora sí ya no dice extender las camas. Ya una hora va a tener que ir a jugar. Sí, mañana voy a decirles que si nos mandan lo que a nosotros, porque lo dijeron en periodo de aviso, o lunes no, siempre no, lunes no. Fue así, bro.
¿Qué? ¿Qué? No, ya lo saqué.
That is exactly what the majority of people would have said, but it is not what Dr. Gonzalez said. What he said, and what he did, are so important that I will now introduce him and let him speak for himself. One Saturday afternoon, I sat in my room thinking of ways and means of raising money to carry out my plans. For nearly 2 years I had been thinking, but I had done nothing but think. The time had come for action. I made up my mind, then and there, that I would get the necessary $1 million within a week. How? I wasn't concerned about that. The main thing of importance was the decision to get the money within a specified time. I want to tell you that the moment I reached a definite decision to get the money within a specified time, a strange feeling of assurance came over me, such as I had never before experienced. Something inside me seemed to say, why didn't you reach that decision a long time ago? The money was waiting for you all the time. I called the newspapers and announced I would preach a sermon the following morning entitled, What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million. I went to work on the sermon immediately, but I must tell you frankly that the task was not difficult because I had been preparing that sermon for almost 2 years. Long before midnight, I had finished writing the sermon. I went to bed and slept with a feeling of confidence, for I could see myself already in possession of $1 million. Next morning, I arose early, went into the bathroom, read the sermon, then knelt on my knees and asked that my sermon might come to the attention of someone who supplied the needed money. While I was praying, I again had a feeling of assurance that the money would be forthcoming. In my excitement, I walked out without my sermon and did not discover the oversight until I was in my pulpit and about ready to begin delivering. It was too late to go back on my notes. What a blessing that I couldn't go back. Instead, my own subconscious mind yielded the material I needed. When I rose to begin my sermon, I closed my eyes and spoke with all my heart and soul of my dreams. I not only talked to my audience, but I fancy I talked also to God. I told what I would do with $1 million if that amount were placed in my hands. I described the plan I had in mind for organizing a great educational institution, where young people would learn to do practical things and at the same time develop their minds. When I had finished and sat down, a man slowly arose from his seat about 3 rows from the rear and made his way toward the pulpit. A decided what he was going to do. He came into the pulpit, extended his hand, and said, Reverend, I like your sermon. I believe you can do everything you said you would if you had $1 million. To prove that I believe in you and your sermon, if you will come to my office tomorrow morning, I will give you $1 million. My name is Philip B. Armour. Young Gonzalez went to Mr. Armour's office, and the $1 million was presented to him. With that money, he founded the Armour Institute of Technology, now known as Illinois Institute of Technology. The $1 million that launched the Armour Institute came as a result of an idea. Behind the idea was a desire that young Gonzalez had been nursing in his mind for almost 2 years. Observe this important fact. He got the money within 36 hours after he reached a definite decision in his own mind to get it and decided upon a definite plan for getting it. There was nothing new or unique about young Gonzalez vaguely thinking about $1 million and weekly hoping for it. Others have had similar thoughts. But there was something very unique and different about the decision he reached on that memorable Saturday, when he put vagueness into the background and definitely said, I will get that money within a week. The principle through which Dr. Gonzalez got his $1 million is still alive. It is available to you. This universal law is as workable today as it was when the young painter made use of it so successfully. Editor's comments. The Armour Institute of Technology opened in 1893, offering courses in engineering, chemistry, architecture, and library science. And in 1940 became the Illinois Institute of Technology when the Armour Institute merged with the Lewis Institute, a Chicago college that opened in 1895 and offered liberal arts as well as science and engineering courses. In 1949, the Institute of Design, founded in 1937, also merged with IIT, followed in 1969 by the Chicago Kent College of Law and the School of Business, and in 1986 by the U.S. College of Engineering. Today, there are several campuses in downtown Chicago. IIT has been called the Alma Mater of accomplishments. This is the end of the editor's comment. How to transmute ideas into action. Asa Candler and Dr. Frank Gonzalez have one characteristic in common. Both use these Carnegie planted in my mind the idea of organizing the principles of achievement into a philosophy of success. Millions of people have profited by the discoveries made in the years of research, and fortunes have been accumulated through the evolution of philosophy. The beginning was simple. It was an idea that anyone might have developed. The favorable thing came from Carnegie. But what about the determination, definiteness of purpose, and the desire to attain the goal, and the persistent effort of all those years of research? It was no ordinary desire that survived disappointment, discouragement, temporary defeat, criticism, and the constant reminding that I was wasting my time. It was a burning desire, an obsession. When the idea was first planted in my mind by Mr. Carnegie, it was coaxed, nursed, and enticed to remain alive. Gradually, the idea became a giant under its own power, and it coaxed, nursed, and drove me. Ideas are like that. First, you give life and action and guidance to ideas. Then they take on a power of their own and sweep aside all opposition. Ideas are intangible forces, but they have more power than the physical brains that give birth to them. They have the power to live on after the brain that creates them has returned to dust. Tell the world what you intend to do, but first, show it. Chapter 8. Organized mind. The crystallization of self. From the personal language, from the abstract to the concrete. Workshop of the imagination, where plans for its transition are created and organized. In Chapter 3, Desire, you are instructed to take 6 practical steps to begin translating your desire for money into its monetary equivalent. One of the steps you must take is the formation of a definite practical plan or plans through which this transformation may be made. Following are the basic instructions for making practical plans. Ally yourself with a group of as many people as you may need for the creation and carrying out of your plan or plans for the accumulation of money, making use of the mastermind principle. Compliance with this instruction is absolutely essential. Do not neglect it. Editor's comment. The Mastermind Alliance is built of 2 or more minds working actively together in perfect harmony for the common goal. This concept was introduced in Chapter 6, Specialized Knowledge, and is described in more detail in Chapter 11, The Power of the Mastermind. This is the end of the editor's comment. Before forming your Mastermind Alliance, decide what advantages and benefits you may offer individual members of your group in return for their cooperation. No one will work indefinitely without some form of compensation. No intelligent person should request or instruct another to work without adequate compensation, although this may not always be in the form of money. Arrange to meet with the members of your mastermind group at least once a week, and more often if possible, until you have jointly perfected the necessary plan or plans for the accumulation of money. Maintain perfect harmony between yourself and every member of your mastermind group. If you fail to carry out this instruction to the letter, you may expect to meet with failure. The mastermind principle cannot work where perfect harmony does not prevail. Keep in mind these facts. You are engaged in an undertaking of major importance to you. To be sure of success, you must have plans that are faultless. You must have the advantage of the experience, education, capability, and imagination of other minds. This is the way it has been done by every person who has accumulated a great fortune. No individual has sufficient experience, education, natural ability, and knowledge to ensure the accumulation of a great fortune without the cooperation of other people. Every plan you adopt for making money should be the joint creation of yourself and every other member of your mastermind group. You may originate your own plans, either in whole or in part, but see that those plans are checked and approved by the members of your mastermind alliance. If your first plan fails, try another. If the first plan that you adopt does not work successfully, replace it with a new plan. If this new plan fails to work, replace it with still another, and so on, until you find a plan that does work. Right here is the point at which the majority of people begin to fail, because of their lack of persistence in creating new plans to take the place of those that fail. The most intelligent person living cannot succeed in accumulating money, or in any other undertaking, without plans that are practical and workable. Just keep this fact in mind, and remember, your plans
T'as mis tes lunettes tout d'abord, toi.
it may only mean that your plans have not been sound. Start all over. One thing. Assume that there is something wrong with your plan.
Il y a le but d'être plus quoi? Ah, c'est moi avec des... à chaque fois là... c'est du blabla.
I was stunned when you're stunned, the names don't pop up. When you're stunned, the names don't pop up.
Yeah, t'as vu devant toi. Dommage pas là.
Hey!
Fuck you, bitch. Thank you,
A keen sense of justice. Without a sense of fairness and justice, no leader can command and retain the respect of their followers. Definiteness of decision. Those who waver in decisions show that they are not sure of themselves and therefore cannot lead others successfully. 5. Definiteness of plans. Successful leaders must plan their work and work with their plans. Leaders who move by guesswork without practical definite plans are like a ship without a rudder. Sooner or later, they will land on the rocks. 6. The habit of doing more than paid for. One of the penalties of leadership is the necessity of the leaders to willingly do more than they require of their followers. 7. A pleasing personality. Leadership calls for respect. Followers will not respect a leader who does not agree to
You're fucking garbage.
8. Sympathy and understanding. Successful leaders must be in sympathy with their followers. Moreover, they must understand them and their problems. 9. Mastery of detail. Successful leadership calls for mastery of the details of the leader's position. 10. Willingness to assume full responsibility. Successful leaders must be willing to assume responsibility for the mistakes and the shortcomings of their followers. If a leader tries to shift this responsibility, that leader will not remain the leader. If one of your followers makes a mistake or is incompetent, you must consider that it is you who failed. 11. A successful leader must understand and apply the principle of cooperative effort and be able to induce followers to do the same. Leadership calls for power, and power calls for cooperation. There are 2 forms of leadership. The first, and by far the most effective, is leadership by consent of and with the sympathy of the followers. The second is leadership by force, without the consent and sympathy of the followers. History is filled with evidences that leadership by force cannot endure. The downfall and disappearance of dictators and kings is significant. It means that people will not follow forced leadership indefinitely. Napoleon, Mussolini, Hitler were examples of leadership by force. Their leadership passed. Editor's comment. The following may also be added to the list: Idi Amin, Francisco Franco, Saddam Hussein, Ferdinand Marcos, Slobodan Milosevic, Juan Perón, General Augusto Pinochet, Pol Pot, General Suharto, the Taliban leaders in Afghanistan, Marshal Joseph Broz Tito, Joseph Stalin, and subsequent leaders of the Soviet Union, East Germany, and the other countries in the communist bloc. This is the end of the editor's comment. Those that remain see their power eroding and slipping away. Leadership by consent of the followers is the only leadership that can endure. People may follow forced leadership temporarily, but they will not do so willingly. Successful leaders will embrace the 11 factors of leadership described in this chapter, as well as some other factors. Those who make these attributes the basis of their leadership will find abundant opportunity to lead in any walk of life. The 10 major causes of failure in leadership.
Because of the street.
Leaders who fail. It is just as essential for you to know what inability to organize details. Efficient leadership calls for the ability to organize and master details. General leader is ever too busy to do anything that may be required in capacity as leader, whether a leader or follower. When you admit that you are too busy to change your plans or to give attention to any emergency, you are admitting your inefficiency. The successful leader must be the master of all details for any position. That means you must acquire the habit of taking details.
Oh!
I'm pretty sure I was about to like half that time. Fucking distance. Bro, why are you fucking up the steps today? Come on, what? Come on. guys do it? Bro, I'm getting spawned up the fire. Oh my god, it's taking that's me fucking bro, I'm dumbass today. I'm not gonna lie. This is dumb as shit. What the fuck is my teammate doing, bro? Do something! You just watch this guy shooting. Oh, your cursor has to start with termite.
Experience. If you've had experience in connection with positions similar to the one you give the names and addresses of former employers. Be sure to clearly point out any special experience you may have had that may put you in a full position to see. 3. References. Practically every business firm wants to know as much as possible about the background of prospective employees who seek positions of responsibility. Attach copies of letters from former employers, with details of previous studies, and from prominent people whose judgment may be relied upon. 4. Photograph of yourself. Include a recent professional photograph of yourself as a part of your presentation. Editor's comment. In the contemporary job market, this is not a common practice at all. However, from personal experience, the editors of this edition know it can be advantageous. Such job application, but unquestionably, it was the makes a good professional impression. You may want to consider this unusual approach. There is the danger that it may be seen as being more self-centered, but it could also be
Make sure that's in the top.
Did they have her social in there?
I didn't ask her for a social because I knew they were going to do that quick back. Because he did. And so I knew they were doing it because I wanted to follow what you guys. You get it? I thought you did it. You couldn't take that.
Pascuita, ya se la calita la vacita. Un rato más, cuando venga con mamá. Oh, bueno, ya estoy. Sí.
satisfaction.
I'm here. I'm not going to like. I know. Yeah, I read that.
Oh!
Causes of failure that may not be easily corrected by any individual. My philosophy can offer only one method of bridging this weakness, through the aid of the mastermind. 2. Lack of a well-defined purpose in life. There is no hope of success for the person who does not have a central purpose or definite goal at which to aim. 98 out of every 100 of those whom I have analyzed had no such aim. Perhaps this was the major cause of their failure. 3. Lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity. I can offer no hope for those who are so indifferent they do not want to get ahead in life and are not willing to pay the price. 4. Insufficient education. This is a handicap that may be overcome with comparative ease. Experience has proven that the best educated people are often those who are self-made or self-educated. It takes more than a college degree to make you a person of education. Any person who is educated has learned to get whatever they want in life without violating the rights of others. Education consists not so much of knowledge, but of knowledge effectively and persistently applied. You are paid not merely for what you know, but for what you do with what you know. 5. Lack of self-discipline. Discipline comes through self-control. This means that you must control all negative qualities. Before you can control conditions, you must first control yourself. Self-mastery is the hardest job you'll ever tackle. If you do not conquer yourself, you will be conquered by yourself. By stepping in front of a mirror, you may see both your best friend and your greatest enemy. 6. Ill health. No person may enjoy outstanding success without good health. Many of the causes of ill health are subject to mastery and control. These, in the main, are overeating of foods not conducive, wrong use of or negative thinking, wrong use of and overindulgence, sex, lack of proper physical exercise, and inadequate supply of fresh air due to improper breathing. 7. Unfavorable environmental influences during childhood. As the twig is bent, so shall the tree grow. Most people who have criminal tendencies acquire them as a result of bad environment and wrong associates during their childhood. Procrastination. This is one of the most common causes of failure. Procrastination stands within the shadow of every human being, when its opportunity to spoil your chances of success. Most of us don't life as failures because we are waiting for the time to be right to start doing something worthwhile. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand. Work with whatever tools you have at your command, and you will acquire better tools as you go along. 9. Lack of persistence. Most of us are good starters, but poor finishers of everything we begin. People are prone to give up at the first signs of defeat. There is no substitute for persistence.
It's magic!
Negative personality. There is no hope of success for the person who repels people through a negative personality. Success comes through the application of power, and power is attained through the cooperative efforts of other people. A negative personality will not induce cooperation. 11. Lack of control of sexual urges. Sexual energy is the most powerful of all the stimuli that move people into action. Because it is the most powerful of the emotions, if it is controlled, it can be converted into other creative channels. 12. Uncontrolled desire for something or nothing. The gambling instinct drives millions of people to failure. Evidence of this may be found in the Wall Street stock market crash in 1929, during which millions of people tried to make money by gambling on stock margins. Editor's comments. For those who are not familiar with the stock market and buying on margin, the following is a simplified explanation of what caused the crash of 29. The first thing to understand is that prior to the Great Depression, there was widespread optimism about the expanding economy. Businesses were booming, and the people who had invested in those companies were making fortunes almost overnight. When the average person saw how much money was being made, they wanted to get in on it, and there was a way for them to do it. Even average people who didn't have enough ready cash to buy stocks could do so because brokers allowed customers to purchase stocks on margin by making what amounted to a down payment. However, part of the purchase agreement stated that when the brokers called in the margin accounts, which they could do at any time, the customers would have to come up with the rest of the cash immediately to pay the balance owing on the original purchase price. That is why Gill used the term gambling when he referred to the stock market. These average people weren't investing in companies. They were betting on the future rise in value. The idea in the average person's mind was that they would only have to scrape together enough to pay the margin, which was a small percentage of the full cost. Then when the price of the stock went up, they would sell, which would give them more than enough money to pay the broker the balance owing on the purchase price, and they could pocket the difference. This worked fine as long as stock prices continued to rise, but when the stock market crashed, the stockbrokers called in the margins, and the people who had bought at prices they really couldn't afford suddenly found that they had to come up with the cash. And that was why so many average people got wiped out in the crash of 29. They gambled money they didn't have by buying on margin. This is the end of the editor's comments. 13. Lack of a well-defined hour of decision. Those who succeed reach decisions promptly and change them very slowly. Those who fail reach decisions very slowly and change them frequently and quickly. Indecision and procrastination are twins. Where one is found, the other is also usually found. Kill off this pair before they completely tie you to the treadmill of failure. 14. One or more of the 6 basic fears. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. You will find an in-depth analysis of these 6 basic fears in the final chapter. They must be mastered before you can market your services effectively. 15. Wrong selection of a mate in marriage. This is a most common cause of failure. The relationship of marriage brings people intimately into contact. Unless this relationship is harmonious, failure is likely to follow. Moreover, it will be a form of failure that destroys ambition. 16. Overcaution. The person who takes no chances generally has to take whatever is left when others are through choosing. Overcaution is as bad as undercaution. Both are extremes to be guarded against. Life itself is filled with the element of chance. 17. Wrong selection of associates in business. This is one of the most common causes of failure in business. In marketing personal services, you can use great care to select an employer who will be an inspiration and who is intelligent and successful. With whom you associate most closely. Pick an employer who is worth emulating. 18. Superstition and prejudice. Superstition is a form of fear. It is also a sign of weakness.
No, no, no.
19. Wrong selection of a vocation. You cannot have outstanding success in work that you do not like. The most essential step in the market of personal services is to have selecting an occupation in which you can throw yourself wholeheartedly. Although money or circumstances may require you to invest in no one can stop you from developing plans to make your goal in life a reality. Editor's comments. Most contemporary experts agree with Napoleon Hill's statement that finding the work you love is of key importance in achieving success that is truly rewarding. This concept coincides so well with modern attitudes that it has inspired a number of books, including Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers, Witchcraft by Barbara Sher, and Do What You Love, The Money Will Follow by Marcia Sinitar. All 3 books became bestsellers by expanding upon that same concept. This is the end of the editor's comments. 20. Lack of concentration of effort. The jack of all trades seldom is good at any. Concentrate all of your efforts on one definite chief aim.
Tú eres muy mala. Yo me quité.
Indiscriminate spending. You cannot succeed if you are eternally young.
Otro chancla.
Ay, me aventé una. Falta la otra chancla.
Me estorbas tú.
No, y tú también, cabrón.
¿Y yo? ¿En qué?
Sí, porque no puedo poner ni las cobijas porque ahí estás tú y siempre pongo las cobijas en la otra cama. Y ahora me estás estorbando.
Mira, la culpa es de salchicha, ¿ok? Porque estoy enfermo. ¿Qué?
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 ¿Por qué te la culpa la sangre?
Dije salchicha.
Es muy nice.
Dije salchicha.
Oh.
La culpa es salchicha porque estoy enfermo. Chiu, chiu.
No, es que me comido de ramo de muchacho que yo puedo. Ahora sí que está como la canción, quiere sacar juventud de su casa. No, ¿te dije tú?
Gaby está sacando juventud de su pasado.
Te digo porque dice está joven. El que está sacando juventud de su pasado es tu papá. Y quiere volver a ser joven, pero ya está viejo. Cada vez el reloj se le va más a lo viejo. No sé.
También Zuko encuadrándose en fotos.
Sí, porque también ya está viejo, porque ya no es un muchacho. Filomena está joven.
Zuko encuadrándose en fotos. Tú diciéndole que de pena de perdida. Oh,
No, sí, a ver, si deja tomarme aquí una gama. Y después la vas a paciente donde está la puerta.
y se pone eso como de vaselina que ponen una mano en la pared. Y me faltó el cigarro también. Ya ni los Scarlett ya no. Ya no se me toca, eres más Scarlett que Scarlett.
Sí.
Hasta los Scarlett ya no quisieron. Y no, ya no fue Muca, ya no fue a mayordomo. Ya no fue Muca.
Mira, ¿cómo hacen las almohadas?
¿Qué quieres?
Entonces, no las hagan así, mira.
¿Qué quieres?
¿Cómo que qué quiero?
Ya quiero que la ves a Morgan. Do you o
¿La
do?
de caminosa?
Vámonos, después de esto ya hablamos de ok.
Es que no me estás dejando moverme rápido, Luis.
¿Qué más tienes todo el día?
No me estás dejando moverme. Quiero acabar de tender las camas que tienen mañana del pasarlo ahorita en el correo de la... Sí.
¿Qué no la mandas digitalmente?
Mira.
Creo que todo se puede sellar digitalmente.
Mira.
No.
Se va a tomar bien en pago. Aquí pasa lo mismo.
Mal, digitalmente también está allí.
No, así lo puedo hacer.
Bueno, ya estoy en un tapa y tengo que...
Hermano, un pendejo, ¿cómo le fue el patín del día?
No, yo no lo acomodo así.
Luis,
Magaviga cuando se mueve.
Luis, he visto tantas veces que se mueve y el patín seguía así como yo lo había dejado.
Esa vez de ahí se movió más.
Tantas veces se mueve más que eres tú. No te cuenta que tienes lo mismo.
No, Morgan no dice nada de eso.
No puedes llevarte la boca.
No,
Porque haces pegajoso.
no. Ok, so ya tengo un tapa y tengo que leer. Y luego vamos a hacer, no podemos exercise. Madre de la puch. No podemos. Vamos a marcar si quieres. Si
No,
quieres.
déjame caminar.
No, si quieres. La caminata no la hagas, es vacaciones, porque tú ya sabes por qué vacaciones.
No, no te estés diciendo eso porque lo echas. Oh, no has hecho nada, no has hecho nada.
No, ya ha sido los días que no podemos, porque mira nomás, ¿quién iba a saber que iba a tener otro 4 días? No, papi. No, yo porque pero ya no había ni un gerente de la noche para decirle que se iba a ver de las lunes, pero no quiero manejar tampoco un bar de hay tráfico y regresarme con el tráfico, ¿me entiendes? O sea, usted no se understand. O nomás se understand que es que vaya ahí y gastar mi gas. No es que yo me sienta acá. ¿Qué es mini coffee for her? No sé ni cómo decirle. Agua hizo palabra y le hizo como 10 palabras. Y todo el mismo significado. El último que lo dejó que suma es Pedonini. Y si ya vi ahí la planta W2. Ya la investigué. No, de lo de ese del planta W.
Oh, ¿ya lo investigaste?
Ya.
¿Y qué
Tienes que reportarlo.
Sí, no, sí.
Pues la prueba es que si Brain es capaz de darle los documentos. Do you understand?
No, que yo no ando con esto.
The nights don't work. Damn it, you like Fred had the most. Oh! Where's the Fred with the slug?
And your name's Luis, so you're probably Latino. Find out you're from Texas, but
Available with clothing requirements can rest very comfortably at a cost that is only a small portion of their earnings. Only the three basic necessities of food, clothing, and shelter have been mentioned. The average American also has other options and advantages that are available in return for reasonable effort. The average American has security of property rights not found in any other country in the world. We can place any surplus money in a bank with the assurance that our government will protect it and make good to us if the bank fails. If an American citizen wants to travel from one state to another, he or she needs no passport and no one's permission. You may go when you please, and you may travel by car, train, bus, airplane, ship, or any other method that you can afford. The miracle that has provided these blessings. We often hear politicians proclaiming the freedom of America when they solicit votes, but they seldom take the time or trouble to analyze the source of this freedom. Having no axe to grind, no grudge to express, and no ulterior motive, I will give you a frank analysis of that mysterious, abstract, greatly misunderstood something that gives to every citizen of America more blessings, more opportunities to accumulate wealth, and more freedom of every nature than may be found in any other country. I have the right to analyze the source and nature of this unseen power, because I know, and have known for more than half a century, many of the men who organized that power, and many who are now responsible for its maintenance. The name of this mysterious benefactor of mankind is capital. Capital consists not only of money, but also of highly organized, intelligent groups of individuals who plan ways and means of using money efficiently for the good of the public and profitably for themselves. These groups consist of scientists, educators, chemists, inventors, business analysts.
Okay, Wilkie, I have our Wilkie, I have our one, and Vital. Do we have the Wilkies? Oh. Oh my goodness. Wilkie Huntington down, Wilkie Marstenstock, Vital. But good is it Wiki Huntsman, Wiki Stock. Okay, let's see. We have this one. Still on that one. Okay, very good there. Accuracy. Downsides. I don't know what's up with these snipers. This one has dead zoom on. Lo que estoy diciendo es